My name is Andrew Morera, and I'm running for Vice President Academic Affairs on the MASU. I'm a third-year math and physics student, and I've served in the MASU for almost 2 years in my capacity as science senator, and for a year before that as first-year counselor. My platform is centered around 3 points: student-employee advocacy, improved Senate policy, and representation. As VPAA, I would immediately work on drafting and advocating for more representative MASU policies. This will involve creating said policies and also then taking advocacy efforts to University Senate, to university governance for broader policies at the university level. These policies would include things such as religious deferrals for midterms for non-Christian students, just in case their labs or assignments or midterms conflict with a religious holiday that they hold dear. Additionally, improved student ID cards is an issue that impacts largely international students and needs to be addressed by the MASU. Other candidates have and will speak of representation on council. That is an incredibly important position as well that I will advocate for if elected to the position of VPAA. Fundamentally, the point is here that if the MASU wants to remain relevant to students, it must create a council and a Senate that students are proud of and want to serve in. On the topic of student employee pay, last year, over 200 teaching assistants, residence assistants, and academic mentors organized outside of the Mount Allison Students Union to try to get a pay raise through organizing their labor. This is because across disciplines, Mount Allison student employees are undertrained and underpaid, and they felt lost and aggravated that they weren't getting the pay raises that they need, that their pay was not being matched to other regional universities. So to do this, they created a student union, AMACE. I want the MASU to partner with AMACE to truly help our student employees get the pay and the training they deserve to be successful. And my last point, if the MASU is going to become a serious advocacy and policy engine at the university level, it must reform the way it approaches Senate. Senators function as one of the few MASU positions that can write, present, and vote on university policy at an institutional level. Of the nearly 50 members on Senate, 6 voting senators comprise over 12% of the vote. When wielded properly, students can strike down or pass through motions that would otherwise not. One of the most important roles for the VPAA is just this. It's acting as a resource and an organizer for our student senators to give them the tools they need to make sure they're making educated decisions and good decisions that are supported by not only the MASU SAC, but for students as a whole on University Senate. Because of this, it's important for the VPAA to prep their senators well over the summer. For that reason, as VPAA, I will work on professionalizing the Senate by standardizing the transition guide which senators write every year. Usually this is not written, or the writing and the quality varies between senators. If we standardize this, that way we can archive the policies and the advocacy of University Senate. That way, when our senators are going into the committees to advocate for our MASU policies, they have the tools and the archival resources they need to be successful and make sure that they're not just lobbying on what they think is a good thing, that they're lobbying on what what a majority of the students think is a good thing and what MASU representatives in the past think is a good thing. In closing, I want to make the MASU more representative of Mount A students by creating policies that are specifically geared towards underrepresented students. I want to provide critical support to the hardworking student employees of this university by allying ourselves with student labor issues. And I want to reform and reinvigorate our MASU Senate caucus by supporting our student senators with quality information and long-term serious policy goals. Thank you for your time. And thank you for braving that snowstorm. That's pretty awful out there.
If you're a PPE student, that being philosophy, politics, and economics, I'm also doing a minor in Canadian studies. And I'm running PPE academic. So currently I'm one of your art senators and also the intern of the Dean of Arts. I sit on a bunch of committees, and I'm going to save you some of those details and instead go right into the platform. My main idea for running here, ad-lib this line, is that maybe academics is everything nice, but it could use a little more spice. So, it sounded better in my head. We're going to start off with 4 points here. The first point is going to be representation. So, of the about 48 voting members we have on Senate, not one of those are Indigenous, which is kind of a problem considering we're talking about Indigenous issues, namely Indigenous academia. So one of my proposals is if we want to have a better conversation about Indigenous issues, we need to have an Indigenous person at that table. So to start off, this year I started off with a little bit of a proposal I put towards the Student Administrative Council to make a Indigenous representative on council. And that's a very start of a long journey that we need to take and towards making sure that we have representation on Senate. And I really want to emphasize that this is up to Indigenous students. So once we have them at the table, it's really up to them as where they want to be on Senate. But so long as we have that conversation going with them, we're doing well in terms of representation. So that's my first point. My second point is awareness. So it can be really hard for academics to really share information with students. So sometimes there are a lot of misnomers, misconceptions. One strategy we tried this year in the arts, with the help of Councillor Stell, was to make an arts council. So we have representatives from each program or department come together and we meet once for 2 or 3 weeks and we discuss what's going on in terms of academia, what's going on in terms of MASU. This is a really great way to disseminate information, tell people what's going on. It's also a great way so I know what's going on so I can better represent students. So I suggest we do that for sciences and social sciences, providing the senators are interested in doing that next year. My third point is policy. So we're heading on to a similar theme here, is we really do need to structure our senators and make sure we have some form of institutional memory. So it's important that we have long-standing policies that last 3 years to ensure that when we're going to Senate or Senate committees, we know what we're advocating for. So one first policy perspective that we should have in place is in terms of scholarship GPA, in my view. One might think that a 3.7 GPA is a little high. I would be in agreement, and I think we should at the very least, advocate to have lower GPA. I'm not sure how realistic that is, but it's important that we are at least advocating for what students believe in. And my final point is about respect. So to my surprise, we have a gender-neutral language policy, which is great. Downside, it's from 1989, and it shows. So this gender-neutral policy recognizes 2 genders, so it's a little out of date. The thing is, our community is very fluid and it's diverse. We're a liberal arts university. It's important that we recognize the wide spectrum of genders we have. So we should make sure to propose, and I think the academic administration and administration overall be in favor of adapting this document to make sure that it represents students better. And on that line of thought, we should also talk about workplace harassment, because that affects teaching assistants and anyone staffed by Mount Allison, which is a lot of students. So it's important that we make sure that people know the processes to go through, because quite frankly, it's a policy that I didn't even know about until I looked on the website. And I'm a TA, and I've been staffed at the university. So those are my 4 main points. I hope you find them habanero hot. It didn't work. Thank you for your time. Thank you for putting this on to CRO and DRO, and I'd be glad to take your questions. Thank you.